In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about percentages. Well, the best way of looking at percentages is by imagining a pie, like this. When you eat half of a pie, you're left with half of a pie, which is the same as 50%. So it will look something like this. So this is 50%. When you eat half of that, you'll get a quarter of a pie, or 25%. And when you eat 1/5 of a quarter of a pie, you're left with 20%. And the reason why I can calculate that so quickly is because when you look at this pie diagram, this right here is 1/4 and is equal to 25%. And we're left with 20%, so this right here we're going to eat. So this will be 5 out of 25, which is the same as 5 over 5 times 5, because 5 times 5 is equal to 25. The 5's will cancel and we'll get 1 over 5. So if we ate 1/5 of a quarter of a pie, we'll get 20% of the total of the pie. Now, there is a definition of the percentage, which you can see right over here. So it states that a percent is equal to a over 100, with a positive constant. So a can be any constant, for example 0, 1, 1 over 4, 16 over 13, 104, and so on. It just has to be positive. It can be negative, but in practice it's always positive. Next, we say that a% of b is equal to a over 100 times b, with a and b both positive constant. And the fact that this is a multiplication of a constant times a fraction, we can say that the following property holds. a% of b is the same as b% of a, with a and b positive constant, like before. Well, this is a very important property, so let's prove this. Well, a% of b, so a% of b is the same as a over 100 times b, and a multiplication times a fraction can be written as a times b over 100. This is still the same. Remember that this only holds when we multiply a fraction times a constant. It doesn't hold when you, for example, add a fraction with a constant. For example, a over 100 plus b is not the same as a plus b over 100, because many people make this mistake, but this is incorrect. Alright, for our problem. So we can write a over 100 times b is the same as a times b over 100. This can also be written as a times b over 100, which is the same as b over 100 times a, because a times b is the same as b times a. And according to our theory, we can write this down as b% of a. And just to clarify that this step is in fact correct, let me add a small example. For example, 2 over 4 times 10, which is the same as 1/2 times 10, which is 5. Well, according to this step right here, we can say that this is equal to 2 times 10 over 4, which is 20 over 4, and 20 can be written as 4 times 5 over 4, so the 4 will cancel and we'll get 5. And 2 over 4 times 10 is the same as 1 over 2 times 10, which is just 5. This step right here holds, so that's why we can use that. Now you will see in the exercises why this property is so important. Well, let's do some exercises. For our first problem, we want to calculate 10% of 60. Well, 10% of 60 can be written down according to our theory as follows. 10% of 60 is 10 out of 100 times 60. Well, 10 out of 100 is just 1 over 10 times 60. So this will be equal to 60 over 10. And 60 over 10 is just 6. When you find yourself having trouble with fractions, like going from this step to this step, then one thing I can recommend doing is doing the following. 10 over 100 times 60 can be written down as the following. Well, 100 can be written down as 10 times 10. So now the 10s will cancel. So now we'll get 1 over 10 times 60, which is the same as 60 over 10. And 60 is just 6 times 10 over 10. So now the 10s will cancel each other out and we're left with 6. So I don't know if this way is better for you, but if it does, great. So 6 is our answer. Now for our next question, we have 60% of 10. Well, according to this property right there, which we have proven, we can say that 60% of 10 is the same as 10% of 60. And 10% of 60 is what we calculated in the previous exercise. So this is going to be 6. But let's convince ourselves that we can say that this is the same as 10% of 60. So 10% of 60 we know is 6. So now let's see if we do 60% of 10, will it also be 6? Well, according to our proof, it must be. So let's see. 60% of 10. A better way to approach this is by saying, well, 60% is the same as 6 times 10% of 10. Because 6 times 10% of 10 is 60% of 10. So 10% of 10 is 10 over 100 times 10. And 10 times 10 over 100 is the same as saying 100 over 100, which is just 1. And we'll get that 6 times 1 is just 6. And as you can see, both answers are correct. So the second answer was just to convince you that both ways are giving the same answers. Alright, let's go to the next question. For our next question, we want to find out what is 20% of 60. Well, the first thing you always have to remember when doing percentages is to ask yourself, what is the easiest way of computing this? Well, according to our theory, we can always say that 20% of 60 is the same as 60% of 20. But I think in both cases, the difficulty level is the same. Just like the previous question, we can say that 20% of 60 is 2 times 10% of 60. Because 10% out of something is really easy. Because it's just dividing by 10. So that's why I always like to write something down in terms of 10%. So 2 times 10% of 60 we can write down as 2 times 10 out of 100 times 60. And we already calculated it. So 10% out of 60 is just 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. The reason why 10% out of something is so easy to compute is because you just have to divide by 10, and that's 10% of it. Because if you have 10% of a constant a, which is the same as 10 out of 100 times a, well, 10 out of 100 is the same as 110, because 100 is 10 times 10, so the 10s will cancel out. So 10% of a is the same as a divided by 10. So that's why you can divide by 10 if you want 10% out of a with a constant. So 12 is our result. For the fourth question, we have that we want to find 5% of 60. So let's use our trick of writing this right here in terms of 10% out of something, because 10% out of something is very easy to compute. So 5% of 60. Well, then we have to write down that this is equal to 1.5 times 10% of 60, because half of 10 is 5. So this is the same. And now 10% of 60, as we said before, 10% out of 60 is just dividing by 10, and 60 divided by 10 is just 6, and 1/2 times 6 is 3. So 3 is our answer, like that. Now for our fifth question, we want to calculate 3% out of 7. Well, one thing you always have to remember is that you can say 7% out of 3, but in this case this won't help much. So let's calculate 3% out of 7. Well, 3%. Is there a way of writing this down easier? Well, 1% is easy to calculate, so let's write this expression in terms of 1%. So 3% is the same as 3 times 1% out of 7. And this will be equal to 3 times, well, 1% out of 7 is 1/100 times 7, which is the same as 7/100, and 7 times 3 is just 21/100, and this will be our answer. So 21/100 in decimal form is just 0.21, and 21/100 is in fact just percent if you think about it. So those three answers are in fact equal to each other and are correct. So this is the answer for number 5. For our sixth question, we want to find out 13% of 60. Once again, 13% out of something is very difficult. So let's do the other way around, and let's say 60% out of 13. So 16% out of 13, well, let's write this down in terms of 10%. So 60% of 13 is the same as saying 6 times 10% of 13. And 10% of 13, well, is just 13 divided by 10. So we'll get 6 times 13/10. And 6 times 13/10, well, 6 is the same as 2 times 3 times 13, and 10 is the same as 2 times 5. So we can cancel the 2's. And 3 times 13 is 39/5. So this is going to be our answer. For the next problem, we have a shirt that costs $25 and we have a 12% discount. So now they ask us, how much do you pay? Well, let's calculate the discount. So 12% of 25. Now we have to ask ourselves, is 12% of 25 easier than 25% of 12? I don't think so. So let's write down 25% of 12. So 25% is of 12 is just 25/100 times 12, and 25/100 can be written down as 1/4, because 100 can be written down as 4 times 25 times 12, which is the same as 1/4 times 12, and 12 can be written down as 4 times 3, so the 4 will cancel, and we'll get that the answer is 3. So the discount that we get is $3. But this is not the answer that they want, because they won't be happy if you just pay $3. So this is our discount, so we have to subtract this from 25. So let's do that. So 25 minus 3 is $22. So the final amount that we have to pay is $22, and this is the answer. Next, we have a problem. A donut shop sells 40% of all donuts and is left with 420 donuts. How many donuts does the shop have originally? Well, let's draw a pie diagram. So the pie diagram represents all the donuts, and according to the problem, 40% is gone. So it's going to look something like this. So this right here is gone, and this right here is 40%. So the other side is 100 minus 40%, so 60% is still in the shop. And we're given that this 60% is equal to 420 donuts. So let's write this down. So 60% out of the total amount of donuts is equal to 420. And we want the total amount, so, well, let's divide by 60% to both sides, like this. So this will cancel and become 1, and the total amount will be 420 divided by 60%. And 60% is by definition 60 divided by 100. 60 divided by 100. Now remember that the denominator of the denominator is the numerator. So if we have A over B over C, then this is the same as A over B times C. So let's apply this. So we'll get 420 over 60 times 100. Well, 420 can be written down as 7 times 60, because 7 times 6 is 42. Adding 1 0 because it's 60 is 420 over 60, and then just multiply it by 100. So now this 60 and this 60 will cancel and become 1. Oh, this should be 100. So we'll get that 7 times 100 will be the total amount, or 700. Originally the donut shop had 700 donuts, and this will be our answer. For the next question, we have that an item in a store sells for $100 with tax excluded, and we're given that the tax is 20%. Now there is a special discount such that a customer only had to pay $30 in total. What was the discount knowing that the customer had to pay the tax? So let's try to visualize this. So there is an item and it sells for $100, but that is with tax excluded. So the first thing we want to do is find the price of the object with the tax included. And because the tax is 20%, we want to find 20% of 100. So 20% of 100, which is the same as 100% of 20. So 100% of 20 is just 100 over 100 times 20. This will become 1, so we're left with 20. So the tax is 20, so the total price you have to pay is $120. So that is $100 plus the tax, which is $20. This is the price with the tax included. Now we're given that the customer only had to pay $30 in total. So let's draw a pie diagram. The total price is 120. So half of that will be 60 over here and 60 over here. And if we take half of that, we'll get that 1/4 of a pie is equal to $30, $30, and here we have $30 and $30. So this is the total amount of the object, and now they say that they only had to pay $30. So this means that $90, so this right here, and this right here is our discount, so that will add up to 90 because 30 plus 30 plus 30 is equal to 90. So our discount is equal to $90 because $120 minus the discount is equal to 30. And if we look at our pie diagram, we can see that 3 out of the 4 quarters are filled, so 3 over 4 is our discount, which is the same as 75%, like this. So the discount will be 75%. For the last question, we have a multiple choice question. So you buy 4 items and they each cost $30, $25, $5, and $40. The store gives 20% discount on each item, and now they ask us which statement is not correct or incorrect. Well, let's look at them one at a time. So A says, in order to know the price you pay, you can say 20% of 100%. Well, is this correct? So 20% is our discount and $100 is the total amount of the items, because 30 plus 25 plus 5 is 60 and 60 plus 40 is 100. And now they ask us, if we take 20% of 100, is this the price you have to pay? Well, 20% of 100 will be 20, because we can say 100% of 20, which is just 20. So that would be a little less if we only had to pay $20 if we only got 20% discount. So this is not the price we have to pay, but this will calculate the discount. And the total amount you have to pay and the discount price are not the same. So we already can say that A is in fact not correct. So this is already an answer, but maybe the next questions are also not correct. So let's take a look at B. In order to know the discount, you can say 100% of 20. Well, as we discussed above, this will be in fact correct, because 100% of 20 is the same as 20% of 100, and this will give us just 20, which is the right answer for calculating the discount. Now for C, if you want to know the discount, you can take 20% out of each item separately. So 20% of 30, 20% of 25, 20% of 5, and 20% of 40. So can we do that? Well, we can, because let's take a look at this. So to calculate the discount, like we said before, we have to do 20% out of 100. But 100 we can split up in 30, 25, 5, and 40. So actually what we can do is say that we want 20% out of 100 is the same as 30 plus 25 plus 5 plus 40. So those two are the same, because 30 plus 25 plus 5 plus 40 is equal to 100. And if you want to write this down fully, you'll have to write 20% of 30 plus 20% of 25 plus 20% of 5 plus 20% of 40. And this is our answer, so C is correct. For D, they say that the price you have to pay is $80. Well, we already calculated that the discount price is $20. So if we subtract 100 from 20, we'll get $80, and this will be the price you have to pay. So D is correct. So the only incorrect statement is just A, and this will be our answer, because they want the incorrect statement like this. And this is our answer.